So as you can see on my screen, I already have my kind of code editor up and going. This video was supposed to be me talking about the different platforms that I could choose, but after chatting to Bryce Adams, I kind of went gun ho at picking a platform, and that platform of choice was SpreeCommerce. Now, Spree is a platform that I think not many people have heard of, which is fine. That doesn't really scare me because I know that there are large companies using Spree, and I've personally used it before. Companies like Bonobos, Everlane, I think Brandless.com used it, which is probably not a good signal given they went out of business, but I don't think their tech stack is what made them go out of business. But Spree is an open source Rails platform. It'll empower me personally to do kind of whatever I want on it. And I think the reason I chose Spree is because I didn't want this kind of walkthrough to be platform dependent. So I didn't want people to watch and be like, all right, this series is only for Shopify store owners, or oh no, this series is only for people working on WooCommerce. Because majority of people don't use Spree. I feel I can generalize a lot of the recommendations and a lot of the kind of implementations that I'm working on the site to everyone. Because I will be building a lot of this stuff from scratch, which is kind of nice. The other thing that's kind of nice is that I won't be accruing a whole bunch of plugins and app subscriptions, which all cost kind of money. And even building a simple store these days, like, I don't know, there isn't a single store that I found that hasn't added 100, 200, $300 in monthly subscriptions. And of course, if you're making that back in revenue, that's great. I personally don't want to spend that. And usually I'm not too stingy on installing apps if they solve a problem and they've got some utility. But for a experiment like this, not so worth it. And I kind of want to keep things really lean and do them kind of custom myself. The other thing as well is when I was looking at the platforms, and I was really considering Shopify, BigCommerce, and even Magento, the thing that I was worried about was there was some marketing tactics and strategies that I wanted to deploy later on, and we'll talk about them in later videos, but it's just not feasible on those platforms without a lot of effort and moving mountains. And with Spree, it's super easy for me to do, and I can just do it in my Rails console and spin up the pages, show the concept to you guys, and then you guys can try and work out how to get that same job done on your platforms of choice. But for me, I didn't want to kind of wrestle with whatever platform I had selected. I didn't want to wrestle with Shopify. I didn't want to wrestle with WooCommerce, and I just wanted to make things pretty easy. So I guess the question that you guys are maybe asking, is what do you get with WooCommerce? With SpreeCommerce. That's a good question. So SpreeCommerce is a full e-commerce platform. You get a basic front end out of the box. I'm basically going to rip this whole thing out. You get, I think, the ability to add Stripe as a checkout, PayPal as a checkout, and a few other checkouts. It's easy to add subscriptions. They've got a nice, they've built the site around a concept called taxonomy, so it's easy to build out categories and all those types of landing pages. And I think they now include a blog, but even if they didn't, for Rails, it's really easy to make a blog. So yeah, out of the box, you get a gorgeous front end, and you also get a really nice admin back end that's easy to navigate pretty fast. And historically, whenever I've used it, hasn't really had any issues. And some more context, I've used Spree on some pretty high volume stores, and it tends to not really go down. And again, because you're hosting your whole environment and your whole e-commerce stack, you can easily scale things up. We'll be hosting this on Heroku, which is a hosting platform, and Bento, which is my other business, runs on Heroku. And man, it's so easy to scale that. Like, we're serving tens and tens and tens of millions of events a day with Bento, and we've just got auto scaling on. So as demand kind of peaks, Heroku goes, all right, we'll add some more servers and some more dynos at it. And when demand kind of plummets, Heroku automatically tapers everything down. And I want that technology on something like productimages.com, and it's really easy to get that going. In terms of how much support I'm going to get, SpreeCommerce has okay docs, but really their community is where a lot of this stuff is, where I am going to get my support. So if I have a question, I can basically put it on GitHub and ask there, or I can kind of reach out to the development team on Twitter. It's not going to be as intense of a support experience as I'm going to get on Shopify or on even WooCommerce, but for me that's fine. I'm okay with being on my own on this build, and I don't really need too much support. And if I do need support, I can get support from some of my Rails developer friends. And I guess that's the thing, is like when you are choosing your platforms, you do really want to play to your strengths. And for me, my strength is Rails development and working on both front end and back end and trying to create great experiences there, which I can do on Spree. I'm limited on Shopify. I've tried really hard, but I'm always struggling there. And also on Woo, I've generally struggled there. But that's because of my limitation on PHP. And on the Shopify side, it's just my limitation because the platform has a lot of constraints. And so certain things get super tricky there. And so when you are assessing these platforms, go, okay, what are my strengths? What knowledge do I have? What platform is going to be the best fit for me? And then make the decision based on that. If you've got a team that let's say you have a development team, and that development team is super knowledgeable on Rails, don't force them to work on Shopify, and don't force them to work on Magento. If you have a team that is, very, they know their way around a platform like Magento, then perhaps just work with that. A lot of this, again, personal preference and skill set, and that's kind of how you should make these decisions. When I chatted to Bryce Adams, which there's a conversation that you can go listen to, it's about like an hour and a bit. In there, I kind of asked him, does volume of orders or how much money you're making kind of dictate what platform? And it was pretty encouraging to hear him say that it kind of really doesn't. So whether you're doing 100 orders, 200 orders, 1,000 orders a month, all that really matters is, are you comfortable on the platform? So I guess, it's probably a personal preference thing. It's probably all it comes down to is, again, what are your strengths? What are your team's strengths? Are they going to be enjoying working on the platform every single day? For most people, the answer for Shopify is yes. For most people, the answer for WooCommerce is maybe. And again, if you're an e-commerce site that produces a hell of a lot of content, and you really enjoy the publishing features on WordPress, then yes, pick WooCommerce. But yeah, so this is a quick 10-minute video on why I chose Spree. But again, as a big summary, I'm choosing Spree because it's a nice naked platform for me to basically work on. And you guys can use these takeaways and apply them to your platform of choice, because I won't be using any tooling that is very specific to Spree. And if I do build something custom for Spree, it's going to be very vanilla HTML code that, again, you can deploy on your sites super easily. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. And then I don't know what the next video is going to be, but you will see in your playlist. So stay tuned.